Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So yesterday we saw verse number 66, which is Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hani Rasyopajayate Prasanna Chetaso Hyashuhu Buddhi Paryavatishtate. So when the mind is tranquil, destruction of all pain and sorrow happens, because the knowledge of one who is tranquil minded soon becomes well established. And the verse before this was Raga Dvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayan Indriyais Charan Atmavashyair Vidheyatma Prasadam Adhigachati. Whereas one whose mind is controlled, moving in the world of objects with the sense organs under his or her control, free from likes and dislikes, attains tranquility. The one before that was the negative spiral we saw. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Bijayate. Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Smriti Bhramshad Buddhinashaha Buddhinashat Pranashyati. So how a desire originates, how the pursuit of it begins, how it destroys one's objectivity and so on. All of which is set out in these two very important verses. So these two verses talk of how the desire destroys the person. The psychology of the desire and its downfall. So in the person who dwells upon objects, an attachment is born with reference to them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire, anger is born. From anger comes delusion, and from delusion comes the loss of memory. Because of the loss of memory, the mind becomes incapacitated, and when the mind is incapacitated, the person is destroyed. And what is the antithesis for this? What is the solution to this? Is to meditate not on objects but on the pratyagatma. And the 6 different ways in which we can meditate on the pratyagatma. Whereas the person whose mind is controlled and with the atma vashair vidheyatma. So he has his sense organs under his control. Free from likes and dislikes, attains tranquility. So the goal, first goal for all sadhaks is to attain that tranquility of the mind. Because it is in that tranquil mind that self-knowledge can remain steady. And then we looked at how prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirastyopajayate. So when the mind becomes tranquil, there is destruction of all pain and sorrow. And we saw where does sorrow come from? The three sources of sorrow: Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Daivik. There cannot be another source of sorrow. And it's not like each one has a different type of sorrow. The causes may be different, but the sorrow remains, the sorrow is not differentiated. The causes are differentiated. Sorrow is the same, whatever the reason. Whether you lose your kingdom or your hair, sadness is the same. He says, whatever the source, the sorrow is destroyed once the person is tranquil, for the mind who's tranquil. Isn't it? If you cultivate such a strong mind that is not getting pulled away by just the thought of objects, desire being born, attachment being born, and then the desire sprouts. The desire, again, is based on likes and dislikes. So if you're not going that spiral, if you remain tranquil, just like how the ocean remains tranquil, then nothing can disturb your peace of mind. So there is no way sorrow can happen. And therefore, prasanna chetasaha is important for that, for the raga dveshas to get neutralized, and vice versa. The mind has to gain the tranquility that is the basis for self-knowledge. And to do this, it has to free itself from the raga dveshas. Then all the dukkha's go away because the knowledge stays. This is what we all have to put in our efforts for. Tranquility is the condition that frees one's knowledge from all obstruction. And because of that knowledge, all forms of sorrow are gone, and the person is said to have gained moksha. I think this paragraph can be read and reread till we get that complete import of what it means. I'm going to read the last two paras again. To gain tranquility, you have to take care of your raga dveshas. Whatever is required is what you have to follow, whether it is karma yoga or something else. Only when tranquility is there does the knowledge stay. This means that the knowledge becomes clear, having been freed from all vagueness and doubts. Otherwise, you will always doubt your own knowledge. You will say things like, with this kind of mind, how can I say that I know? The mind itself creates all kinds of doubts, which is the problem. The mind has to gain the tranquility. That is the basis for self-knowledge. And to do this, it has to free itself from the raga dveshas. Then all the dukkhas go away because the knowledge stays. Tranquility is the condition that frees one's knowledge from all obstructions. And because of that knowledge, all forms of sorrow are gone and the person is said to have gained moksha. I think for a sadhak, as for all of us as sadhaks, if you're able to understand these, because Shravana is fine, Manana is also fine, but in the seat of Nididhyasana, the seat of contemplation, one is riddled with self-doubts, one is riddled with lots of obstructions, obstacles, which crop up because there are those lingering ragadveshas because the rasa is still there. So until and unless those are also neutralized, there is no tranquility. And unless there is tranquility, there is no establishment of steady self-knowledge. There will be moments of clarity and there will be moments of doubt. So for all those doubts to vanish, you just remove all those clouds of self-doubt or doubt questions. The state is required, state of tranquility, centeredness. So it's actually, they feed one another. Tranquility ensures ragadveshas are neutralized. And when your ragadveshas are neutralized, it ensures tranquility. So either which ways you work at, it will arrive at the same end point. And when that is there, then listening to this knowledge, that's where somewhere it is said, all it requires for a person who's so mature, who's a mature karma yogi, is just one word, one word from the teacher, and that's it. It just dawns. So this means that the knowledge becomes clear having been freed from all vagueness and doubts. Otherwise, you will always doubt your own knowledge. Exactly what is happening to us in the sense we say, oh, we're reading all this, but we're back to square one. So that there is some doubt that is making us say that. So you will say things like, oh, with this kind of mind, how can I say that I know? The mind itself creates all kinds of doubts, which is the problem. So basically, we need to reach that no mind state where the mind dissolves. Those little waves just dissolve into the depth of the ocean. The mind is nothing but another manifestation of Maya. So even that dissolves, that comes back to its source. So moving on to the next verse. Nasti buddhira yuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shantihi ashantasya kutas sukham. I'm sure, I think maybe we did even this one, but it's worth repeating again. Ayuktasya, for the one who is not tranquil, buddhihi, knowledge, na asti, is not there. Ayuktasya, for the one who is not tranquil, bhavanacha, contemplation also, na, is not. Abhavayatah, for the one who is not contemplative, shantihi, peace, na, is not. Cha, and ashantasya, for the one who has no peace, kutaha, how, sukham, happiness. Ayuktasya buddhihi na asti. Ayuktasya bhavanacha na abhavayatah. Shantihi na cha ashantasya kutah sukham. For the one who is not tranquil, there is no knowledge. For the one who is not tranquil, there is no contemplation. And for the one who is not contemplative, there is no peace. For the one who has no peace, how can there be happiness? Such an important verse. This verse is Krishna's way of praising a tranquil mind, that is prasannata. The word ayukta here means a person who does not have the cheerful, tranquil mind that was discussed in the previous verse. The ayukta is one who has not taken care of his or her raga dvesha sufficiently. It must be clearly understood that what is being said here is in no way meant as a judgment. If this is not understood correctly, a problem of self judgment can arise as you listen to the Gita and the Vedanta Shastra. I am useless, you may say, because there is already a tape inside. The self criticism begins immediately. All that the Swami has to do is utter one negative statement, and this inner tape gets going, switches on automatically. Because I am an Ayukta, I will never get this knowledge. That's it. So, if as long as there is the self doubt, there is no way you can evolve. What was that shloka that says? Um, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam, tatpara samyatendriyah, jnanam labdhva param shantim, nachire nadhigachati. So Shraddha is required. And then a person who's riddled with doubt only gets destroyed. So these verses have to be listened to objectively and with that Shraddha, that yes, it is a possibility. It is not impossible. Samshayatma vinashyati. There is another phrase. So when you're riddled with doubt, you will only get destroyed. Since the tendency is to judge yourself, you must know that what is being said in the Gita is not meant as criticism. Its sole purpose is self-understanding. That's all we have to think of. Whenever this doubt comes up, we should, think, okay, this needs to be understood. This only needs to be understood, not to be judged. Even when we do self-reflection, it is not about criticizing ourselves, but to understand ourselves. If having heard what the Gita says, there is something to be done, it is to be done. There is nothing more to it than that. If raga dveshas are there, they are to be taken care of. That is all.
Hari Om Brahmaraji.
Yes.
Even in the Shraddha, if there is a Rajasic and a Tamasic Shraddha also, right? That you expect something and then for the, of course, for the, uh, and then again, you have the self-doubt. If the Shraddha is not Sattvic, then again the same circle comes up
Correct.
that you are bound by again the raga dvesha and then again you will be meditating on those
Correct.
vishayas and which you have not yet found.
Very right. Which is why Gurudev keeps mentioning. If we remember when we listened to Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita, he was talking of, he says you must never ever go the self judgment route because that will lead you
Mhm.
to self blame. Self judgment, in the sense, reflection is fine, but not not labeling yourself. When you label yourself, you're giving yourself um, you're kind of giving that verdict. This is how I am. But the truth is, you are, he keeps saying, you are bigger than the problem. You're bigger than the event. You're bigger than what you think you are.
Mm.
That's the Pratyagatma. So whenever we're listening to all this, it should come out from um, the, the, the humble attitude or understanding ourselves and not judging. Now, with judging, we not only judge ourselves, we judge others, and we're very quick to judge others and we
Mm.
label them. That is why Krishna said, now there are people who are maybe in your family, maybe in the circle, who are not so into maybe following this path, but you don't label them. It is their own journey.
Mm.
Same thing with our own self. We need to be gentle with ourselves. We, we should befriend our mind and not brandish it. It is not military rule. It is gentle rule. It is like a, take care of your mind like you take care of a child. Then all that self doubt, self blame, self criticism will not
Yeah,
be there.
that is mhm. That the blaming others has long back stopped, but that self-doubt, self-blame
Mhm,
is still continuing. I
mhm,
mean, it is, I still need to, after doing Sahaj, then it goes away slowly. But
mhm,
again, it's so very nice that Gurudev told to meditate 2 times a day.
mhm,
Otherwise, it will continue to, as a tape, as Swamiji
mhm,
is saying, at the
mhm.
back of the mind.
Right.
After knowledge, the blaming others has stopped. But that
Mm,
self blame is so very important that you connect that you should have done this before, you should have done this, and
mm,
still not. Yeah, very beautiful. That prasanna chit is very important,
mm.
not only for yourself, but for everybody around you.
That is why the waves of happiness, if Gurudev says when one person is happy, he or she creates
Mm,
waves of happiness around. Just imagine one is so tranquil. That tranquility will subtly, in a subtle manner, spread across in
correct.
ways that we don't. That is what happens when we are in Gurudev's presence. What happens? People say we feel so peaceful, happy. And each of us has that capacity to rise to that level
Mm,
from our very limited. We feel suffocated. It's like we're binding ourselves in our own shackles of avidya, kama, and krodha, karma and karma. We're bound in these three, the prathama granthi. It is like those granthis,
mm.
the knots.
During seva and satsang, surprisingly, it doesn't even touch. But
Mm,
in sadhana, it touches. And during seva and sadhana, you don't remember any of your
mm,
samsaric
mm,
challenges. And again, in sadhana, when you are in a group, again, that also goes away.
mm.
It's only when you are doing in a as individually. Again, if your mind is not tranquil, then it will be taken away. That dhyayato vishayan pumsaha.
Very right.
Mhm.
So
Thank you,
meditate.
Gurudev.
The solution of Gita is at the same time simple yet a challenge. Just meditate not on objects but on the pratyagatma. And it's not wrong to desire, because again, it's a wrong understanding if you say, oh, no desires. Understand the
Yeah, it
desire.
is not possible remaining in samsara, desireless
You
state.
cannot.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. But remember not to get bound by the desire.
Hmm. Very true.
That is where the attitude of karma yoga comes in. And then as you keep practicing this and you're exposing yourself to this knowledge, even those desires, the nature of the desires will change. It's so beautiful that there is this research done on yoga, just practice of yoga, like hatha yoga, the practice of asanas, pranayama, and all that. Research has shown that person who practices yoga regularly, his desire, his preferences change when he goes to the supermarket. Instead of buying chips and all the junk food that he may have been taking earlier, he will move on to more life promoting, energy promoting, sattvic food like vegetables and fruits. So that happens with just the practice of yoga. So what to say when you're exposing yourself to this self knowledge? So even the desires will take a turn. Rather than have lot of rajasic or tamasic desires, they will turn sattvic more and more. So there is this transformation that happens. So all we need do is cultivate the attitude, be a true mumukshu. And a mumukshu, a karma yogi is a mumukshu. And a karma yogi continues to live in this world of objects, unlike a sannyasi. Because until and unless you have lived a life of karma yoga for a length of time, you cannot be eligible for sannyasa. You should have lived a life of karma, which is why time and again Arjuna is told by Krishna, by Bhagavan, karma yoga is for you. Sannyasa is not for you. Because see why we see this. Without that tranquil mind, where is the steadiness of self-knowledge? It is riddled by that ragadvesha. Those ripples of ragadvesha will, will not allow the mind to be tranquil. And how can those ragadveshas be neutralized? Through practice of karma yoga, that lifestyle of karma yoga. So what China said so many times, yajna bhava, that is the solution. I mean, that is the way forward for a karma yogi. The word buddhi here means knowledge of the self, that by which you understand the self, the Atma. Adequate knowledge does not take place for one whose mind is in the hands of ragadveshas. For a yukta, the ragadveshas are neutralized and there is no problem. Whereas for an ayukta, ragadveshas are there, causing his or her knowledge to be inadequate. In addition to the knowledge being inadequate, the pressure of the ragadveshas more often than not will drive the person towards the desirable objects to be gained and retained, and those that are to be avoided and eliminated. There is nothing right or wrong about ragadvesha pursuits. This is just to explain how the pressures of ragadveshas work. Because of the natural tendency of the mind towards objects of ragadveshas, there is no yearning for or commitment to self-knowledge. There is time only to nurse one's ragadveshas. Even if you try to read the Gita, your raga will keep clamoring at you. What are you doing? What kind of book are you reading? It is not going to fulfill any of your likes and dislikes. I have so many things to interest you. In this way, the ragadvesha seated inside you demand your attention so much so that you begin reading. If you begin reading the Gita, you will either fall asleep or feel like doing something else. Mhm. So there cannot be nishta, there cannot be vyavasayatmika buddhi. You see the previous verse that we learned. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. Avyavasayatmika buddhi does not reach the goal. So you cannot let your mind be frittered away with too many priorities. There can only be one priority, and that top priority is moksha. Which is what Gurudev says. He says, give divine prime time. Don't give divine time after you finished XYZ, which means mentally focus, keep your focus on the divine. No doubt, when as a mother you have your roles and responsibilities to fulfill. When your family needs to get to work, you have to cook and give them their whatever lunch box, pack their lunch boxes. You can't say, oh, I'm giving divine prime time and then sit and meditate. You work around that. But keeping keeping the divine uppermost, even as you're doing whatever your chores you're doing, as long as you're doing it with that mat paraha, that remembering him and doing it as an offering to him, then it's as good as giving the divine prime time. The moment we step aside, that is why Gurudev said, do not move an inch. That means what? Do not move an inch from the Pratyagatma. The moment you step out of that, there's so many things out there that clamor for attention. Me, they come up. It could be just a distraction in the form of a serial or TV, the TV calling you, or maybe a cup of tea or coffee, or or a situation or an event. It does not mean you should be, just inactive. No, continue to act, but with a difference in your attitude.
Is it that Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha Brahmaraji when we are just talking about only me, my family, my priorities, my Swadharma? When you limit yourself only to your world.
Yeah, that is where seva comes in. No,
Mhm.
seva is what reduces your dilutes the mamakara. The
Mhm.
mamakara, what you're doing in seva, you're expanding. Say, my society, my country, my world, my universe. So you're expanding that mamakara so it becomes spread out. Similarly, the I-ness, ahankara, rather than it be small and only centered on yourself, on the self, you expand that ego, make it big, huge. That I includes everything. That is the expanded ego.
Mm.
Yesterday in Mumbai, the very first thing he said about the me and mine only. He said, when you were a child, what did people give you? So that was for play, any game. So everybody told the ball. So we are holding on to the ball. We are not throwing it. And then how will be the life become a game? If me and mine and me and mine, then you will not see the life as a game, and these all things will attach to you. It was wonderful yesterday. Gurudev, in Gurudev's presence, he had means this knowledge plus meditation. He took
Mm,
on this, and that one is the smile meditation from last three times. He's
we've been
making us
doing.
to do that different types of smile, how you smile.
Mm,
It's that ball we are holding, and he said, are you ready to throw the me and mine? Only that you do. Practice is only that. Thank you.
thank you for sharing. Very beautiful. Desires stifle one's interest in self knowledge. Ragadveshas being there, One's interest in the pursuit of self-knowledge will necessarily be stifled and one's commitment inhibited. Even if you want to contemplate upon the self in order to get rid of some of your problems, the pressure of raga dveshas makes contemplation very difficult. You find that you're unable to sit with yourself even for a short period of time. For the one who cannot sit with himself or herself, who cannot contemplate, who cannot pursue self-knowledge quietly, there is no composure, no tranquility. Whereas for the one who contemplates upon oneself, for the one who can stay with oneself, there is tranquility and love of oneself. Thus, the more one can be with oneself, the more tranquil one will be. Very important paragraph.
Please read it again, this para.
See, desires stifle one's interest in self-knowledge. Ragadveshas being there, one's interest in the pursuit of self-knowledge will necessarily be stifled and one's commitment inhibited. Even if you want to contemplate upon the self, in order to get rid of some of your problems, the pressure of ragadveshas makes contemplation very difficult. You find that you are unable to sit with yourself even for a short period of time. For the one who cannot sit with himself or herself, here sitting does not mean just sitting. Sitting, of course, for meditation, yes, but dropping, being dispassionate. Are you able to drop all your wants, desires, labels, which is what the three beautiful affirmations we do before we begin meditation is: I want nothing, I do nothing, and I am nothing. Only when one can come to this complete sense of dispassion can meditation actually happen. And what Gurudev says in that acceptance meditation, acceptance is meditation, accepting the present moment. Only then can meditation happen. Otherwise, you sit in the seat of meditation and all your wants crop up. Whereas for the one who cannot sit with himself or herself, who cannot contemplate, who cannot pursue self-knowledge quietly, there is no composure, no tranquility. Whereas for the one who contemplates upon oneself, for the one who can stay with oneself, there is tranquility and love of oneself. Thus, the more one can be with oneself, the more tranquil one will be. The more centered we are. So meditation, the darshan kriya, and the knowledge points, all of them help in keeping our mind centered, heart and mind together, as well as creating that tranquility. We are not talking about the commonly known self here. We are talking about the real self, the self that is beautiful. The more you begin to understand, the more you begin to love the self. The self Atma is not other than yourself. Therefore, self-love comes. And because the self is absolute, the love for it is absolute. So beautiful. So Gurudev says, come within to the kingdom of silence. There is an eternal party happening there. So the more and more we can revel in that knowledge of the self, revel in meditation, the more self-love dawns. And this self-love is not selfish love. It is love for the absolute self. And therefore that love also becomes absolute. The self, because the self itself is absolute. It is not entangling love. It is not love that is entangled with ahankara and mamakara. It is love that is universal, love that loves all. There are no boundaries, no shackles. It's like space, boundless. There is a lot of talk about the necessity of developing self love. But how can you develop a love for this limited self that you have with its crippling raga dveshas without feeling love for yourself? You cannot sit with yourself. And when you cannot sit with yourself, there is no tranquility, all of which implies an absence of peace and contentment, ashanti. I'll read this again. There is a lot of talk about the necessity of developing self love. But how can you develop a love for this limited self that you have with its crippling raga dveshas? So when we look at ourselves and we see only the dirty mind with its raga dveshas, with its accompanying negative emotions, you cannot develop self love, right? Although without feeling love for yourself, you cannot sit with yourself. And when you cannot sit with yourself, there is no tranquility. Here, the self that is talked of is the true self, pratyagatma. Somewhere, I think earlier we said, Swamiji was talking about the ideal I and the real I. Ideal I is what you aspire to be. And the actual I is what you are, with riddled with raga dveshas, with all the kalmashas. So we understand now. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. One loves oneself the most, and therefore he or she loves anything else. That is a given. No matter how much you say, oh, the wife says, oh, I love my husband more than me, it is because you love yourself that you love your husband or your children or your friends. It is a given. But the self that we love, at Atmanastu Kamaya, that is unfortunately because of wrong identification, we hold on to that small self. Gita Charya is goading us to hold on to the large self, the only self. Happiness can only take place in a tranquil mind. Any sharing before we go on to the next para?
Again, when we are trying to think about the self, right? The self is in us, also around us. So when they say self, it's not just what it is within you, right? Is it like something you have to expand on it?
No, come again. I didn't quite understand what you say.
No, when you're talking about self, right? I mean, as an individual, we say that that self within us, like a small dot or whatever, that self, that Atma. But this Atma is in us, in me, as well as around me, in everything. So when you say you sit with yourself, of course, meditating on Atma, but that Atma is bigger than us. Like in the sense, like
Of course, we are an
are like
Atma.
right.
We, you know, the body,
So that
mind,
so that Atma is not just limited within this body. That's what I
no.
am trying to
Correct.
say,
Very right. Very
right?
right.
So that
That is what
means
Gurudev says. He says the body, mind is not in the body. The body
right,
is in the mind.
right. Like when we're thinking about it all this time, like at least excuse me. So we're talking about the self meaning, like always it indicating for yourself, right? In terms of in that sense, but real self is in and around us, like it's all that 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 space thing. That's what he also says in that meditation.
Mm.
It's above your head and all these things. Like so, I'm wondering, like when you say self, you going to just feel it in your heart, or is it all over
Yeah.
that bigger
But,
self?
the beauty of this is, see, unless you withdraw your mind and your
Mm,
senses from the external world of objects, that is, you go within. That is why
mm,
it is said within, go within.
mm, mm,
And when you go within, you actually expand. That expansion, when you've meditated and you feel that beautiful sense of oneness, what is happening? There is, um,
right. So
you're
you
not
feel like
limited.
your head is not closed actually
Mm,
when you're meditating. It feel like
mm.
it's all open kind of
Correct.
feeling, right?
Yeah,
It's not like you're like closed head, like your skull is all
yeah,
open feeling.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I
Mm.
was wondering. Like when I say self, meaning you're not kind of focusing this part or this part like that. It's just everywhere.
Happiness can only take place in a tranquil mind. A person may say that he or she does not want peace and contentment, shanti, but wants only happiness, sukha. One may say, some people may want shanti, but I am an enterprising person. I want pleasures, joy, and happiness. For me, shanti is useless, but all sukha, all happiness is possible only in a tranquil mind. When you cannot sit with yourself, naturally you are agitated. And when you are agitated, where is the possibility of sukha for you? When you are agitated, there is no sukha. How can a person who is ashanta, how can a person who is ashanta, who does not have shanti, pick up any sukha? There is no way. Sukha is only with yourself. Therefore, the more you can stay with yourself, the more tranquil you are, and the more tranquil you are, the happier you are. Which is why it is said, Antarmukhi Sada Sukhi. The moment you step out, there is that agitation. And when there is agitation of the ragas and dveshas, where can there be happiness? Happiness then is another word for tranquility. Only the tranquil person can discover happiness. In fact, such a person discovers happiness even in small things. He or she does not require a talk show to be happy. Everything in the world becomes amusing to the person who is tranquil. If you have tranquility, the whole world is a continuous joke. You require nothing. It is all there, free of charge. Just open your eyes and you see the joke. When inner tranquility is there, you require nothing to be happy. Whereas, if it is not there, happiness cannot even be bought. Happy hour does not buy you happiness. It only robs you of your money. It may be a happy hour for the owner of the bar, but not for anyone else. For both you and your family, it is definitely an unhappy hour. When you cannot stay with yourself, where is the possibility of sukha for you? One has to take care of raga dveshas, otherwise they are a nuisance. Therefore, whatever is to be done to take care of them must be done. This may imply karma yoga, listening to the teaching, shravana, or further analysis, manana. How the knowledge takes place, what is required for it to become steady, sthira, and why it can be so unsteady, asthira, is what is being discussed in these verses. So beautiful. So when you take everything in the world to be amusing, to be wonder, every small thing becomes a sense of joy, of it becomes a joke, here Swamiji says, becomes amusing. So nothing becomes entangling. That dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate. That getting attached to objects. Objects will be there, but you will not get entangled in them. Because your meditation is on the pratyagatma and not the objects. Anyone wants to share? Actually, let's all share. Let's all share at least one takeaway. What does this verse mean to us? What is this reading, this listening? What is our takeaway?
So come whatever may be, I will be meditating only on that Pratyagatma. Whatever challenges and everything it is there, they are all momentary. They will go away, and I am bigger than the challenges. So while doing sadhana also, the same thought will continue.
Yes. But this again, it is not passively accepting it. Take it out with a sense of responsibility. That is why Gurudev says, see, the karma yoga does not imply inaction. That the verse karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahe turbhuhu ma te sangostva akarmani. Don't be attached to inaction. So it's a powerful sentence, sloka, which says, drive yourself, take up responsibility, do what is to be done. Yet,
Very true.
don't be disturbed by the outcome. Take it as prasad.
Not
Right?
to get bound by the.
Not to get bound. Because we can take a very
desires, like, yeah.
passive world, a passive look at everything and say, oh, let me just, withdraw myself. I'll get into my cocoon. I'll not do anything. But that is not what it implies.
We have to make sure we are getting our goals set up properly and focusing on that. Uh, you have to work towards it one by one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Navleen says, if we keep
So
attention on.
understand, yeah,
Yeah, no,
understanding,
please go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, no, complete yours, Dr. Mara.
No, I'm just saying understanding this binding desires and how it arises in our mind and how we can take control of it. That is then that's a starting point. Plus, as we doing all this karma, so who doing it with that action.
Your
Yes.
voice is breaking off. I don't know whether it's my internet. Can't hear
Mm,
you clearly.
No, it is not clear even for me.
yeah, sorry. Maybe my internet is not working properly. No, what I meant to say is like, first of all, it is like understanding, clear understanding about this binding desires as it arises in the mind, like it wanted to have better control of it, and that way it neutralizes as we doing this karmas, like karma yogic attitude, karma yoga, and then go from there. Mm. So that this tranquil mind things happen only as as you said, we are not going toward that external world, and you need to do that meditation and all those things. But still, unless this raga dvesha is neutralized, uh, that is not going to work. I mean, we come back to the same uh, problems again and again.
Mm.
The last three broadcasts mainly talk about this raga dveshas, binding desires, non-binding desires, and step by step he is eliminating. And this particular one, he says, what is the sequence consequence of if we don't take care of the raga dveshas? If we don't take care of it, then your mind is not going to be tranquil, and you're not, I mean, not going to have this self knowledge. There is no shanti, there is no sukha, there is no peace or no cheerfulness or happiness. So that how it is mentioned. Sorry.
So the importance of meditation. But Loveleen says, if we keep attention on higher self, the desires which are cause of misery will lessen. Very true. So tomorrow we'll take this up. Indriyanam hicharatam yanmano nu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavami vambhasi. So it says, the mind that follows the moving senses indeed robs the person of his knowledge, just as the wind carries away a small boat on the waters. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Meditation is accepting this moment. Meditation is accepting this moment, living every moment totally with depth. Let us keep our spine erect and body relaxed and eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep a big smile on your face. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene and with a serene smile on your face. Relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest region. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it be. Except those parts of the body where you feel a tension, the other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are all guests for some time. Let them be. Sit with the total acceptance of yourself the way you are at this very moment. Total acceptance of what is now here lead us to deeper meditation. Let go of all the efforts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let go of all your effort and be in this emptiness. And slowly and gradually become aware of body and surroundings. And you may gently open your eyes.